Going live, going live, going live, and according to YouTube, I am live. Hello, if you're watching live, hello, if you're watching playback, and welcome to my 47th I've Got to Say live stream. Just me with Cherbik, so I'm in the middle there. Hello, and welcome to my live stream for today. What's the date today? It's the 20th of December. Getting close to Christmas now. Christmas is on Saturday, isn't it? Yeah. 20th of December, and welcome to my 47th live stream on this channel. My 47th, I've got to say, live stream on this channel. And basically, if you don't know what these live streams are, essentially once and twice, or maybe 3 times a week, actually, it'd be more like 4 times this week. I'm making up for some past live streams I haven't done. Basically, I talk about current movie and TV topics going on in the movie and TV world right now. And at the same time, though, I'll also be answering any live questions sent in during this live stream. And also, if you have a topic you want me to talk about in my next live stream, please let me know in the comment section below, and I'll probably talk about it in my next live stream. So today I'm only talking about one topic. I'm only talking about the big topic right now in the movie and TV fandom world, which is all to do with Spider-Man No Way Home. And today I'm going to be going through some more spoiler thoughts after my review yesterday, but we're going to check out my review if you haven't already. And basically I uploaded my big review yesterday where most of it was spoiler. The review of Spider-Man No Way Home I uploaded on this channel yesterday was about 3/4 spoiler, and there was about a quarter of it which wasn't spoiler, but yes, basically, if you haven't read the title of this live stream already, this live stream will be spoilers, so just complete and utter spoilers. So if you haven't watched Spider-Man No Way Home yet, and you want to, but you haven't heard anything about it, I'd be shocked by this point if you haven't, but, you know, well done if you haven't heard anything about the film yet and you haven't gone to see it. But anyway, basically, if you haven't seen the film yet, and you don't know anything about it, here is your spoiler warning, your final spoiler warning, because I will be getting into some big spoiler stuff in this live stream. And also, if you are watching this live, currently it says that no one is, which is a bit of a shame, but no worries, no worries. Hopefully people will join in a bit later in this live stream. But if you are watching this live, please also feel free to send in like a live question or live comment about Spider-Man No Way Home. You know, could be anything. It could be what I thought of the movie, whether I went ranking the Spider-Man movies and whatnot. But yes, please do feel free to, you know, send in a question at any point during this live stream, and I'll probably try to answer it as best as possible. And also, yeah, this live stream is going to be completely focused on Spider-Man No Way Home. I will have late live streams this week, which will be focused on more topics. Like, I think on Wednesday, I'm going to do a live review. I've never done this before, but a live review of Hawkeye, because I can't be bothered doing a full-on review of that. So I'm going to talk about my opinion on the Hawkeye TV show as a whole live, because I'm starting to get a bit sick of the Marvel TV shows. And actually, that's not something that my opinion on Hawkeye, by the way. I think you might be surprised by my opinion on Hawkeye. But overall, at the moment, I'm starting to get a bit sick of the constant Marvel TV shows. So I'll be talking about my opinion on Hawkeye on a live stream probably this Wednesday. Tomorrow, I've got my review of Home Alone 2 Lost in New York coming, another Christmas film review. And I'll probably do my review of Die Hard coming later this week. And also, I'm going to be doing live streams on Thursday and Friday as well. Don't know what I'm going to be doing them yet. But we'll wait and see, and hopefully all good things come to those who wait. But yes, basically, I've got a good couple of live streams coming this week. But for now, let's focus on this live stream today, and let's focus on even more spoiler thoughts regarding Spider-Man No Way Home. And again, here is your spoiler warning in case you haven't read the title and you haven't listened to me before in this live stream. Spoiler warning for Spider-Man No Way Home, because I will be getting some big spoilers. And also, actually, a couple of things just to say off the bat. I haven't done my house clean items. First of all, I live next to a main road, so if you hear like a tractor, a truck, or a motorbike going past at any point on this live stream, I do apologise. Also, I live in the countryside, but sometimes it does feel like I live next to a building site. So if you hear like, some drilling going by at the houses by me, I do apologise if you hear some like, drilling going by in the background. And also, I do live streams via OBS. Now, it hasn't actually cut out yet, but there is a warning. I'm going to give a big warning here that this live stream could cut out any point. This live stream could cut out at any point, and I'm just warning you there. Like, it has been doing in the past couple of live streams, just the stream will cut out. And if that does happen, it's completely out of my control as far as I'm aware. Maybe there's a way I can fix it, but for now, I don't know that way. So, you know, there is a chance that this stream could cut out at any moment. Fingers crossed it doesn't, but, you know, there's a chance it could. And also, you may be noticing today, my nose is a bit blocked up. I went to go get my booster vaccine. Don't know if you can see my, got my little, what's it called? oh, what they called? Bandages, whatever. Yeah, bandages. I got a little plaster. That's plaster. Can't think of the word then. Yeah, I got my plaster for. I got my booster yesterday, so that's really good. So I got my booster vaccine now, but it also means I'm not feeling 100% today. But I'm gonna power through just for you guys. But I do have a bit of a blocked up nose. I just realised that as soon as I started this live stream. So apologies if it sounded a bit weird. But nevertheless, yes, I got a bit of a blocked up nose, and also I've had my booster vaccine, so I'm not feeling 100%. But I am feeling about 75%, and that's what I'm going to do to get through this live stream for today. It's not going to be a long live stream because I've got a busy day ahead of me. I'm actually going out quite a bit later, which I'm quite excited about. And also, I've got a bunch of other stuff to talk about in later live streams this week. But nevertheless, I'm going to power through. And now, I'm officially going into Spider-Man No Way Home spoiler territory. So again, if you haven't seen the film, this is your final warning on spoilers for Spider-Man No Way Home. Final warning, spoilers. So, Spider-Man No Way Home, I spoke about this in my review. I'm not going to really, I might do a bit of repeating myself like I did in my review, but I'm going to try and say some new stuff as well that I didn't already say in my first review of Spider-Man No Way Home. I'm going to kind of say some new stuff about this film that I didn't really touch on in my first review. But first of all, I'm going to talk about my opinion on it as a whole. I went to go and see the film a third time actually. The day I recorded my review of Spider-Man No Way Home on Friday. It's now currently Monday, so I recorded it on Friday, and basically I'd only seen it twice. I saw it twice on Thursday. That's the first time I've done that with a film, by the way. I've never, ever seen a film twice on the same day. But here we are, Spider-Man No Way Home. I haven't even done that with Star Wars, by the way. I've seen, Rogue One, The Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker, and Solo all at the cinema, and I never saw them twice in the same day. Granted, I didn't really like Solo the first time I saw it, and actually, I do like about half an hour of Solo, but the rest of it I think is pretty pants. But yeah, I've never done it with a Star Wars movie, but I did that with a Spider-Man movie. That shows you how much of a Spider-Man fan I am now. And even so, I'm maybe not as big a Spider-Man fan as some other people in the world. I love these movies. Well, I love them for the most part. I love the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, and I don't particularly like the Amazing Spider-Man movies, but I do think Andrew Garfield as Peter Parker, aka Spider-Man, is brilliant in those movies, and I think his chemistry with Emma Stone was brilliant. And also, like I said before, I enjoyed Jamie Foxx's Electro in Amazing Spider-Man 2. Bit of a controversial opinion, but I did personally. And also, I really enjoy the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies so far. This might be a bit of a controversial opinion, and again, I'm repeating myself from my review, but I'm just going to get it out there. I got into Spider-Man through Spider-Man Homecoming. A lot of people don't like Spider-Man Homecoming or say it's a quote-unquote bad Spider-Man movie. I personally don't think it is. I think it's really good, to be honest, and because it's a different take on the Spider-Man story. A lot of people didn't like that. A lot of people just wanted, Peter Parker to get bitten by a spider again, and then go through, his teenage, adolescent life when he falls in love with a girl and tries to save the day at the same time. We'd already had that with 2 Spider-Man before. We didn't need it again, and actually, I think Spider-Man Homecoming is a wonderful movie. I do think it's got some big bombs in there. I'm not going to say it's a perfect movie, but I think Spider-Man Homecoming was really good. And bear in mind, I watched this movie in 2017. I watched Spider-Man Homecoming in 2017, around the time that I wasn't really liking the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I'd seen Guardians 1 and 2, which I enjoyed, but Spider-Man Homecoming was that movie for me, which I watched in the cinema. I was like, right, I don't expect to like this at all. I ended up really liking it. And it's evidence that I can like a Marvel movie, by the way. I can like a Marvel movie because I really enjoyed Spider-Man Homecoming after not expecting to whatsoever. And then basically Spider-Man Far From Home came out. I'm not the biggest in Spider-Man Far From Home, but I did enjoy it. Actually, my mates around here in my house the other day, and they stuck it on. And actually, I found it really enjoyable watching it again, funny enough. Watching it again after doing my review. Because when I watched it to do my review of Spider-Man Far From Home on this channel, I remember not liking it that much, or not liking it as much as I wanted to. And then funny enough, a couple of days ago when I stuck Spider-Man Far From Home on, I actually liked it a lot more. And actually thinking about it now, I think the reason I liked Far From Home more after watching it a couple of days ago is perhaps because I've seen No Way Home now. So I know where these story arcs go, and I think that's kind of an interesting way of looking at past movies. Like, actually, yesterday, I watched the first Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie. I watched Spider-Man 1 yesterday, Green Goblin and whatnot. I watched that yesterday, and actually, you have a bit of a different perspective on it now you've seen No Way Home. I'm actually going to go back and rewatch some of the Spider-Man movies from the past. I don't know if I'm going to watch the Amazing Spider-Man movies. I might do, but yeah, basically, I've gone back and I rewatched Far From Home, and I rewatched Spider-Man 1 over the past couple of days. And you have a bit of a different perspective on those movies now, and in a really good way, and I really liked it, actually. And actually, maybe I'll go back in like a year or so when No Way Home comes out on like VOD or DVD or something like that, and, rewatch all the Spider-Man movies and maybe have a different, perspective in all of them. Maybe I like The Amazing Spider-Man more, maybe I like it less, or maybe I like Far From Home more, or maybe I like it less, and so on and so on and so on. And I think that's going to be an interesting way to look at these Spider-Man movies in the near distant future. But for now, No Way Home. I watched it. I watched it for the first time on Thursday twice. I watched it twice on Thursday, and then I watched it again on Friday. And I think it's great. I think it's a really, really good movie. Now, I don't think it's a brilliant movie. I think it's got some big problems in there. But the thing is, though, I think it knows it's not a brilliant movie. A lot of people going out there saying it's a masterpiece, but to be honest, everyone says it's a Marvel movie nowadays. And I'm just being plain here, I think it's better than Homecoming and Far From Home, but I also think Homecoming and Far From Home are better movies. But I personally prefer No Way Home, if you get what I say there. Like, Homecoming and Far From Home, I think, are just solid movies and really, really good. No Way Home, I think, is a lot of fun, but I don't think it's a better movie than the previous two, because I think it's got a lot of plot holes in there, plot holes in there, but I think the plot holes kind of make it work better. I briefly spoke about this in my review that I uploaded yesterday. Go and check it out if you haven't already. Again, plugging that review, because hasn't got the views I wanted to yet, but nevertheless, do go and check out my review of Spider-Man No Way Home, which I uploaded yesterday. But yes, basically, like I said before, this film, No Way Home, has plot holes, but it kind of succeeds because it does. It's not a perfect movie like the Peter Parker character himself. This movie isn't perfect. No Spider-Man movie is perfect. I've spoken about this before. I don't want a Spider-Man movie to be a masterpiece. I don't want it to tick all the boxes. I just want it to tick most of the boxes, because then, that's kind of the Peter Parker character himself. Peter Parker, in the end, is a character. And by the way, I haven't read any Spider-Man comics, so I'm just going to off the films. But what I've got from the films, what I've got from the Spider-Man films, is that the Peter Parker character makes a lot of mistakes. He's a bit messy. He's a bit all over the place. He's trying to juggle, two lives. And I think that's what the movies have done so well. Even the Amazing Spider-Man movies, which I'm not the biggest fan of, I think they have really encapsulated that sort of feeling of Peter Parker balancing two lives. Balancing his life of being Spider-Man and balancing his life of being in college and trying to get through high school and whatnot. I think that's what these films have all done really well. And I think that's what No Way Home did really well, actually. It really, it really asked that question, can Peter Parker juggle two lives? Especially when everyone now knows that he's Spider-Man, and then in the end, he chooses to make it. So basically, he sacrifices his own happiness so everyone around him can be happy. And no pun intended there, by the way, because obviously happy's in this film, but no pun intended there. But yeah, basically, that's a really good idea in my opinion. I think that's a really good idea. And I love the fact that this film has plot holes. It's not a brilliant movie, like I said before. And I think the whole stuff doing multiverse is just a pure excuse to bring these characters back. That's what it is in the end. That's what the whole stuff doing multiverse is about. Now, I might be in my words when Doctor Strange 2 comes out, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. When that movie comes out, maybe multiverse will be used in a bit of a different way than it was in No Way Home. But just after watching Spider-Man No Way Home, it just feels like, that multiverse is an excuse to bring the Green Goblin back, to bring, Doc Ock back, to bring, Electro back, and the Lizard, and Sandman, and so on and so on and so on. That's what it feels like. It's just an excuse to do. But I don't mind that. I don't mind that. A lot of people are criticising, okay, multiverse is an excuse to bring these characters back. Yes, and I think the film knows that. I don't think the film's trying to hide that, by the way. And actually, I kind of like that whole idea. I like the fact that they bring it back via multiverse. Because in the end, there wasn't really one big logical way to bring these characters back. If they did want to bring them back, and obviously they did. And I think multiverse is just, kind of an easy way out. I think it's a bit of a cop-out, that's what they say. It's a bit of a cop-out, like the end of Shaun of the Dead, where Shaun and his best mate Ed are trapped in the basement with his girlfriend, and the only way they get out is because the army show up. Again, it's a cop-out. It's just a way of doing this to move the plot forward. And actually, I think it works here. One thing I've always liked about Spider-Man, it's always been a bit wacky. I like a superhero movie which is a bit wacky and doesn't take itself too seriously. That's one of my reasons I'm not a big fan of some of the other Marvel movies, because they feel quite episodic, and also they feel kind of like, end of the world, we have to save the world, we're going to be able to do it. Look, I've got the biggest ego in the world. That's what it kind of feels like with so many Avengers movies and Captain America and Iron Man movies in the past. But with Spider-Man movies, whether it's Tom Holland, Andrew Garfield, or Tom Maguire, they always feel like they're having fun, a bit wacky and things like that. Sometimes in a good way, sometimes in a bad way, like in the Amazing Spider-Man 2, it gets a bit too wacky. But the thing is, though, I like when a movie just has fun with itself, and these Spider-Man movies are having fun with itself. So yes, it's doing multiverse, but I think it's knowingly doing multiverse, and I don't think it's trying to make it so it's trying to, be Godfather-esque or something like that. Maybe not the best example, but I think, it knows it's a bit silly, the whole stuff to do multiverse. It knows that. In fact, there's a moment when it comes through and everything like that. There's one where, Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire come in, and it's all a bit silly, but you just kind of go along with it because it's a Spider-Man movie, and you've indulged yourself in these sort of tone of Spider-Man and this sort of like the way they're written in the past, and I think that really helps you enjoy Spider-Man at home. Not sure if I get my opinion across there, but what I'm trying to say is multiverse is to find ways to bring these characters in a Spider-Man movie. Now, in another movie, this is like Captain America, I think I might be saying something different, but with a Spider-Man movie, I think it works. I think it's wacky, I think it's a bit silly, and I think it's a bit, all over the place, and I think it's a bit, far-fetched, but that's fine. That's fine. It's a Spider-Man movie in the end. It's not, I just had a funny thought of a Godfather multiverse. I don't know why I got Godfather in my head, by the way. But yeah, imagine a Godfather multiverse. That'd be a bit weird. But yes, it's not, trying to do something unique and bold with multiverse. No, it's a bit of fun. And in the end, this movie's not going to win any awards. I know I can't see the Oscars going, man alive. They did multiverse incredibly well in Spider-Man No Way Home. No, but the thing is, in the end, it's fun. And I think bringing multiverse in is an interesting way to bring these back. To bring these characters back, should I say. And I think it's a bit fun, a bit wacky, and I think it works. And also, I love the fact that this movie exists. I never in a million years thought a movie like this would exist. Now, I do think there would have been 3 Spider-Men in a movie at one point, but I don't think they would have all been together as Spider-Man. Maybe, I don't know, there was a lot of talk about one stage where, Tobey Maguire being Uncle Ben, and that could have been quite interesting. They won't go that direction now, obviously, with this movie. And also, let's talk about Andrew Garfield popping up at one point as, Spider-Man's best friend in another Spider-Man movie. But the thing is, though, I thought they might all be in a movie together, but not as Spider-Man. But actually, Sony went the extra mile. It was like Sony's apology for cancelling those past franchises. Tobey Maguire was meant to kind of do Spider-Man 4. Andrew Garfield was meant to kind of do Amazing Spider-Man 3, Thor 5, 6, and so on and so on and so on. But the thing is, though, he didn't. And those franchises got cancelled after, Spider-Man 3 got a bad reception, and the Amazing Spider-Man 2 got a bad reception. But actually, Sony and, Kevin Feige, the head of Marvel Studios, and, Amy Pascal, the producer of all these Spider-Man movies, came out and just went, you know what, we're going to do the big apology for cancelling those past franchises in the past, and actually bring these characters back, bring these villains back, bring these Spider-Man back, and do it in an honouring way. I spoke about this before in my other review, but this movie, it honours those past, it honours those past Spider-Man franchises, and in a really good way, in my opinion. I love the fact that it honours can't even speak tonight. I love the fact that it honours those past Spider-Man franchises, because other franchises wouldn't do that. As much as I was trying to use a different example there, but I can't even think of one off the top of my head. But other franchises wouldn't do that. Other franchises wouldn't honour, past movies. But actually, this movie goes, without the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, this movie wouldn't exist. Without the Amazing Spider-Man movies, this movie wouldn't exist. And I love that about it. I love that they brought these characters back, but they did it in a way that honours them, not in a way that ruins their character arcs from previous movies, because other movies have done that. One thing a lot of people criticise with The Rise of Skywalker, a criticism I partially agree with, I partially don't as well, but one of the criticisms with The Rise of Skywalker was that was a movie that was referring a lot to the past, with a lot of fan service in there, but it wasn't honouring it, and I think, I understand why people said that. I don't personally fully agree with it, but I understand why people said that. But actually, with No Way Home, it literally says, without those previous Spider-Man movies, this one wouldn't exist. And I love that. I love the fact they brought these characters back. And actually, over time, when it first happened in the movie, when I first saw No Way Home, I didn't like the fact that wrestling fans just voiced a lizard. I wanted Kirk Connors to be there in person. Same with, Thomas Hayden Church, who plays Sandman. I didn't like the fact that Thomas Hayden Church was just there voicing Sandman, apart from that one scene when they both turned to human at the end of the film. But the thing is, though, actually over time, I liked it a bit more, because it makes you focus on Electro, Doc Ock, and Green Goblin more as the human characters and as better villains. Green Goblin, in the end, is the main villain of the film. Willem Dafoe is terrific. I've spoken about this before. Willem Dafoe is terrific in this film, and Alfred Molina is terrific as Doc Ock, and so is Jamie Foxx's Electro. Actually, I don't love Jamie Foxx's Electro in this film, but I do think he was good. He was having more fun in this film than he was in Amazing Spider-Man 2. But yes, basically, that sort of idea, it's focusing more on the Electro, Green Goblin, and Doc Ock, rather than the Lizard and Sandman. And the Lizard and Sandman don't need to be in this film. They don't need to be. I've spoken about this before. They don't need to be. They don't really play much significance to the end of the film. But I wouldn't take them out of this film. I wouldn't take Sandman and Lizard out of this film, because they're in there. And I love the fact that they're in there. It sounds a bit naff what I'm saying, but what I'm trying to get across is, in the end, I just love the fact this movie exists. I love the fact they got all these characters come back. It's almost like Kevin Feige, the head of Marvel Studios, who's involved in these films, sat down and watched Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse in 2018 and went, you know what, I want to make a live-action version of that film. That's what it feels like it's like. And I'm not saying that in a bad way, by the way. I'm not saying that in a bad way whatsoever, because actually, I love the fact this movie exists. I think Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and by the way, go and check that out if you haven't already. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is a wonderful movie. I think it's on Netflix. I might be wrong there, apologies if I am, but it's a wonderful movie. And actually, I might go back and rewatch that now. Now I'm more of a Spider-Man fan, because I did enjoy Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, but I watched it before I probably watched all the other Spider-Man movies, all the other live-action Spider-Man movies, and actually, now having watched all the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, all the Amazing Spider-Man movies, and all the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, maybe I'll enjoy Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse more. I don't know. I'm going to go and check it out soon. That's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to check that out because I've watched all the previous Spider-Man movies now. But yeah, basically, it's almost like the producers of the film sat down and watched Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and went, we're going to make our own version of that, but live action. And I think they succeeded in a fantastic way. I love the fact that the movie was made, because I actually don't think this was in their plan. I think after Spider-Man Far From Home, they had one more movie in their plan, which was to properly finish off Tom Holland's Spider-Man trilogy, and I think they didn't plan to bring any villains back. I think the plan originally for the third film, and I might be completely wrong here, I haven't read anything, this is, me pure speculating, but the thing is though, I think originally the plan for Tom Holland's third Spider-Man film was Scorpion as a villain, because actually, if you watch Spider-Man Homecoming, Scorpion is hinted at with Vulture in the post-credit scene of that film, and I think Scorpion was meant to be like the big bad villain of the Tom Holland's third Spider-Man film, and I don't think they're done with Scorpion, by the way. There is one big clear hint at Scorpion at one point in the film where Doctor Strange's like, I'm trying to stop them, but they're all coming through, something like that, and you see all the purple stuff going on in the sky, and it's like hint of Rhino, Kraven the Hunter, the one I just mentioned, I completely forgot his name, Scorpion. But yeah, you see all these hints, all these other villains. So I don't think they're done with Scorpion. By the way, I still think Scorpion's coming back, because also they did turn up in the post-credit scene for Spider-Man Homecoming. So I don't think they're done with him. But I also think that originally the plan was to have Scorpion as a main villain in this film, and actually, I think they changed their mind after they saw Spider-Man Into Spider-Verse. I think they changed their mind, and I think they changed some moments in Spider-Man Far From Home, because if it's multiverse mentioned or in Spider-Man Far From Home as well, to Mysterio, Jake Gyllenhaal's villain. And actually, I think there would have been some changes there to make Spider-Man Far From Home and make Spider-Man No Way Home flow together quite nicely. And I think, and I'm not saying it's in a bad way whatsoever. By the way, I'm not saying it's a bad way, not at all. But I think Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse made Spider-Man No Way Home happen, and I loved that. I think Spider-Verse was a wonderful movie. I need to go watch it again, actually. And I think No Way Home is great. I love the fact this movie exists. I never thought this movie exists, and actually, I need to say a big thanks to Christopher Lord, and is it Phil Lord and Christopher? Yeah, Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, who did Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and I think without their wacky sense of cartoonish-esque things in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, I don't think this movie would exist, and I love that. I love this movie exists, and I'm really happy that it does, because I don't think this was their original plan, but it's finally out there. This movie is out there. This movie did get made, and it was made at the height of COVID, by the way, and actually it does not feel like it was at all. It really doesn't. I've seen some people review it and say, like, the film feels like a big Zoom call with a load of famous actors, and I kind of see where they're coming from. When Charlie Cox popped up as in Daredevil in this movie, I must admit, I haven't seen the Daredevil TV show, so I didn't really feel anything. I thought it was kind of cool, actually, because I knew it was Daredevil. I know of Daredevil and things like that. Like, I know when Kingpin showed up in Hawkeye, I knew that was Kingpin, but I haven't seen the Daredevil TV show, so I don't know. And also, I don't know whether I should go watch Daredevil now, because I don't know if it's going to be the same Daredevil from the Netflix TV show, or whether it's just going to be the new character, a new Daredevil character, or like a Daredevil variant, like the host of 3 variants and Loki, or it'll just be something like that, where it's not the same character, but it's just played by the same actor. It's not the same character which we previously had in the Daredevil TV show, but it's just played by the same actor. I don't know if it's that idea, we'll have to wait and see, because apparently, according to the directors of Hawkeye, that will be answered in the last episode of Hawkeye, whether this is the same Kingpin we've already met beforehand. I don't think it is, but I might be wrong, and I'm not going to be shocked if I am wrong, but we'll have to wait and see. But yes, basically, if it is revealed this Wednesday that actually the Kingpin in Hawkeye is the same Kingpin from the Daredevil TV show, I'll go watch the Daredevil TV show. But we'll have to wait and see when that gets when that gets confirmed finally. But still, yeah, when Daredevil popped up in this film, it didn't do much for me because I haven't seen the Daredevil TV show. But I thought it was kind of cool. But also at the same time, though, I could tell that Charlie Cox, who obviously plays Daredevil, wasn't actually there the day they shot that scene. Partly because I've studied film. I know that sounds a bit like snobbish. Oh, I've studied film. I know how those scenes are constructed. No, but at the same time, though, I could tell personally that Charlie Cox wasn't actually in the same set as Tom Holland, Marisa Tomei, and Jon Favreau in that scene. But at the same time, though, I like that he was there. Yes, the film might feel like a bit of a Zoom call, but I think that's not a bad thing. I think people have been saying it's a bad thing. I don't think it is. I like the fact that Daredevil was in this film. I like that. It's a bit wacky. I like the Spider-Man films himself. It's a bit wacky that you got Daredevil in this film for no significant reason in there. Okay, I understand he's playing, Peter's lawyer, but he was only in one scene. And it was just kind of a scene like saying, okay, no, Daredevil still exists, and he's still played by Charlie Cox. That's what that scene felt like. But I don't care. I don't care. Like, a lot of people have been criticising that. I don't care about that whatsoever. And in fact, I spoke about it in my review yesterday. The reason I think this film works is because of the emotion. And I think the ending, when I was speaking about before in my first review of Spider-Man No Way Home, I was saying about the whole, Peter, should I say, MJ and Ned forgetting Peter Parker. It was reminding me of something else. I couldn't put my finger on it, but actually, I've put my finger on it now. It reminds me of It's a Wonderful Life. Wonderful Christmas film. No pun intended there, but brilliant Christmas film. One of the best Christmas films ever made. Basically, everyone forgets Jimmy Stewart's character in that film. Everyone forgets James Stewart's character. And then basically, at the end, everyone remembers him again. He wishes that he didn't exist, and then basically, he sees what he's like if he didn't exist, and then at the end, he takes back his wish, and he goes back outside, and everyone remembers him, and it's Christmas again, and it's a wonderful end to that film. It's such a good Christmas film, by the way. It really is. It's a Wonderful Life. It's so good. Go and check it out this Christmas if you haven't already. But basically, that's what it kind of reminded me of in this film. But in the end, you don't have the happy ending in No Way Home. Well, we don't have it yet anyway. Like, MJ and Ned forget Peter. And that's the very similar idea to, the idea for It's a Wonderful Life. But there's no happy ending in this film. I think that was what made it so heartbreaking. Imagine that. Imagine MJ, this girlfriend you shared all his secrets with and come really close to, forgets who you are. And Ned, the person you're building a Lego Death Star with in Spider-Man Homecoming, the person you've gone so close to over Spider-Man Far From Home, and into this movie as well, and also like Mummy the Avengers Infinity War, the person you grew so close to is no longer your best mate. Doesn't even remember you. And I think the most heartbreaking moment in that scene where he goes to the coffee shop and goes to tell MJ that he loves her and everything like that. After he said, come and find me. And then he goes to the coffee shop and goes to find her and he's like, I'm Peter Parker and I want a coffee. Who wants to say I love you, but instead he just goes, I'm Peter Parker and I want a coffee. At that moment you go, oh no, you should have just said it. But now I have to wait for the next Tom Holland Spider-Man movie, which is slightly annoying, but, annoying in a good way, because the ending is frustratingly smart. But yeah, basically, that scene where Peter goes to the coffee shop where MJ works and Ned's there, I think the most heartbreaking moment about that scene is MJ and Ned are still happy. They're happy in that scene. And I think there is a moment where Peter Parker realizes, Tom Holland's Peter Parker realizes, oh, I sacrificed my happiness for their happiness, and they are happy. And it's a really emotional moment, actually. Just speaking about it now, just imagine that. It's just emotional. Like, the two people you think you knew the best no longer exist in your world. Or they don't exist, you don't exist in their world, should I say. And obviously, Aunt May's now gone. The person you looked up to, the person who took care of you for so long, and Happy Hogan, the person who's a bit of an uncle to you doesn't remember you either. Like, that's that grave scene where, Peter Parker's Aunt May's grave, and Happy comes along, and he's like, how did you know Aunt May? And he's like, oh, through Spider-Man. And you realise that, Happy doesn't remember him either. And again, that's just really heartbreaking. And I do think that the whole Aunt May death scene, and I spoke about it before, but I will briefly speak about it again here, I think it's brilliant. I think it's a really good scene. Like, it didn't make me feel sad, but I loved the way that scene was constructed. I loved the way that there wasn't one big roaring score like there was when Iron Man died. And I know it's a slightly different thing. Iron Man's death was bigger. But personally, when Iron Man's death happened, in Avengers Endgame, it's like this big roaring score, like, feel sad. That's what it kind of feels like when Iron Man died in Endgame. But here, when Aunt May dies, it's just in quite a subtle way. You know, you have Marisa Tomei brilliantly in this film going, I'm just gonna catch my breath, just gonna catch my breath, just gonna catch my breath, and then you realise that she's dying, and it's a really emotional moment. It's done so well because it's subtle, but it's brilliant. John Watts, who directs Homecoming, he directed Far From Home, and he directed this film, isn't a brilliant director. He doesn't really have a strong visual style. This film, one thing I think is always good at directing is emotional moments, and I think he did that so well here. Honestly, I think the emotion in Homecoming, Far From Home, and in this film is just so brilliant. Whether it's the ending or whether it's Aunt May's death, I just think it's done so well all the time. And also, like I said before, the ending with MJ and Ned forgetting Peter is frustratingly brilliant. Because now it's ruined my... I'm not excited for any more MCU movies further down the line, apart from Tom Holland's Spider-Man 4. I'm excited for Guardians of the Galaxy 3, actually. I'm going to take that back. I'm excited for Guardians of the Galaxy 3 because I've loved Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2 so far. And also, I'm slightly interested in Doctor Strange 2 because it's been directed by Sam Raimi. And, it'll be Sam Raimi's first superhero movies directed since Spider-Man 3, which I loved. So I'm slightly excited for Doctor Strange 2, and I'm excited for Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Other than that, though, I don't care about any other MCU movie until Tom Holland's Spider-Man 4. And I don't reckon we'll get that, by the way, till the earliest 2023. I'm going to guess so it's going to be 2024 now, because I think they're going to change director, because I think John Watts is going on doing other projects now, which is, fine. He did a trilogy, he did a great trilogy. The thing is, though, I think they're going to change director, and also, Tom Holland has been doing this press junket for No Way Home and going, we don't know if we're returning, I think he knows he's returning, and I do think he is returning, by the way. And also, another reason I do think he's returning is we jump onto Google here. Kevin Feige and Amy Pascal, who obviously produce these movies, have actually confirmed that Spider-Man 4 is already in the works. So if we go on IGN here, Spider-Man producers Amy Pascal and Kevin Feige have shared more about the development of Spider-Man Home, a tease that Disney, Marvel, and Sony are actively beginning to develop Spidey's next story, which may just end up being Spider-Man 4. And basically this interview is taken from the New York Times, and then basically this is what the quote says from the two producers, Kevin Feige and Amy Pascal, who have basically very involved in these newest Spider-Man movies. We're producers, so we'll always believe everything will work out, said Amy Pascal. I love working with Kevin Feige, and we have a great partnership along with Tom Rothman, who runs Sony and has been instrumental, a great leader with great ideas. I hope it lasts forever. And then Kevin Feige himself added that they are actively in development on a new Spider-Man movie, wherever that goes next. So Tom Holland's Spider-Man 4 is in the works. I think that's what's kind of confirming there. Tom Holland's Spider-Man movie is in the works, and that's exciting. But I just can't wait to see it now. I can't wait to see how the story progresses. I love the last few minutes of the film, by the way. We see Tom Holland in his new Spider-Man suit. I love that. I love the fact that it wasn't a Stark technology-made suit or something like that. I love the fact that it was like the Iron Spider suit. I love the fact that it wasn't a suit made for him by Tony Stark. I love the fact that it was his own suit that he'd sewed up himself because he saw a little sewing machine at the end. And I just love the fact that he's made his own suit and now he's swinging from building to building in New York, remind you of the Sam Raimi Spider-Man films, and in the best way possible. I love that about the ending. I love the fact that Tom Holland's Spider-Man finally made his own suit. It's going to wait for focus there, focus. It says focus there, so my camera wasn't in focus. I don't think it is so. No, it's in focus now. But yes, I love the ending where you see Tom Holland's Spider-Man in his own suit that he's created. I think that's absolutely brilliant. Oh, it's cutting out a bit now. Damn it, my stream's cutting out. I think it's fine, actually. No, I think it's fine. Sorry about that. I thought the stream was cutting out, but actually I think it's fine. But yeah, basically, I love the end of this film. I love the last 2 minutes or so. We see Tom Holland in his new Spider-Man suit, but it's frustratingly smart because I don't care about any other MCU movie now until Tom Holland's Spider-Man 4. I really don't care about any other MCU movie. And, I will watch them all, but honestly, I'm just going to be thinking about what's going to happen in Tom Holland's Spider-Man 4 when MJ finds out again. Will she find out? Will Ned be in there? Will Ned find out again? Are we going to be introduced to the MCU's Gwen Stacy in Tom Holland's Spider-Man 4? Are we going to be introduced to the MCU's Harry Osborn? Is that going to be played by Timothée Chalamet? And some people have been saying that Timothée Chalamet would be a good Harry Osborn in the MCU. I'm all for it. But yeah, I want to see where Tom Holland's Spider-Man 4 goes. And hopefully they don't just copy the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies, because they could, by the way, because, Tom Holland's Spider-Man now is now living in his own apartment in New York. He's got the rent guy on his back and things like that. And they could just, if they wanted to, go in the same direction as they did with the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies. But nevertheless, I hope they don't. I hope they come up with something new and original and exciting. And I can't wait to see more of Tom Holland's Spider-Man. Whether he's in his own movie the next time we see him, whether he's in, Venom 3 or Morbius. I just want to see the next section of Tom Holland's Spider-Man story, because it's frustratingly good ending. Because it's a frustratingly good ending, which just makes me want to see where the story goes. And also, another question I've been thinking to myself recently about No Way Home is that, obviously Andrew Garfield and Tom Maguire were in this movie. Andrew Garfield should win an Oscar, by the way, for his constant denial that he's in Spider-Man No Way Home. Honestly, the amount of times that Andrew Garfield has been denying his existence in Spider-Man No Way Home is incredible. Honestly, I've never seen an actor or director deny something so much about a movie. And Andrew Garfield, because he had 3 movies come out this year, he's been constantly denying that he's in Spider-Man No Way Home, and then finally got confirmed. He is in Spider-Man No Way Home, but the amount of times he's been denying it is ridiculous. But anyway, yes. I've been thinking to myself recently. One sec, I've been thinking to myself recently. Will Andrew Garfield and Tom Maguire return in future Spider-Man movies? They were in No Way Home. They're brilliant in No Way Home. Honestly, because before, when I watched it from a second time, those people cheer when Andrew Garfield came out, and people cheer when Tom Maguire came out, and things like that. That hasn't really happened in UK cinemas ever in the past, and I love the fact that it happened here. But anyway, yes. Basically, will they return in future movies? I think they will, but I don't think we'll ever get Tom Maguire's Spider-Man 4 or, Andrew Garfield's Amazing Spider-Man 3. I might be completely wrong, and maybe in about a month's time, Andrew Garfield is confirmed to return for another Spider-Man movie for the Amazing Spider-Man 3 to really finish off his story, but I can't see that happening. I really can't see Sony and Marvel, pardon me there, but I really can't see Sony and Marvel wanting to carry on with, 3 separate Spider-Man franchises at the same time. I might be completely wrong, because bear in mind, DC at the moment is basically doing 2 Batman storylines, with Robert Pattinson's Batman and, Michael Keaton's Batman coming back next year. And, that might confuse people at first, but I think they'll get their heads around it. And maybe Sony and Marvel will do something like that in the near distant future. But I just can't see it happening. Because, Andrew Garfield, as much as he loves playing the Spider-Man character, because he's spoken about it so many times, he's 38. He's an old guy now. Well, he's older than he was when he played the... Well, I'd say that back. He's not an old guy, but he's older than he was when he initially played Spider-Man. And I just think... I don't know. I don't see him coming back. I just don't see him probably coming back for his own Spider-Man movie. And I also don't see Tom Maguire coming back for his own Spider-Man movie whatsoever. However... I do think that they are going to come back, and I think, whether it's Tom Holland's final Spider-Man movie, I don't know. But I think they are going to come back, and I think it'll be more expansive when they do come back. I think they'll have bigger roles when they do come back as well, because, as much as I did love seeing Andrew Garfield and Tom Maguire back in No Way Home, it was clear that they were only shooting their scenes in closed-off sets, so people didn't know they were in the film. Unfortunately, everyone knew they were in the film. The leaks came out, things like that. Everybody knew they were in the film about a year ago, so I don't really know why Sony was trying to hide the secret so much. But nevertheless, they were. And you could tell in No Way Home that they shot a lot of the scenes between the 3 Spider-Men in closed-off sets. And I hope that if the 3 Spider-Men again are in another movie further down the line, I hope we see them just about in New York and things like that. It won't matter if there's a set for all 3 of them together, because we'll know them in the movie. I hope next time Sony don't keep it a secret. I mean, knowing Sony, they probably will. And that's fair enough. I'm not saying they shouldn't keep it a secret, but also, if they're in another movie together, just let the public know already, and let the excitement build. I think... I might be wrong here, but I do think that if the people knew for definite that the 3 Spider-Men were going to be in this movie, I think it may have had a bigger hype surrounding it. I mean, the hype surrounding No Way Home was huge when it came out, but I think there would be more hype if people knew for definite that they were in this movie. But, nevertheless, the hype surrounding this movie has been fantastic, and they are in this movie, which is great, but I do think that they are going to come back, not in their own Spider-Man movies, because I just don't see that happening personally, but I could be wrong, and I could be wrong. I'd be fine to be wrong about that, by the way. I'd love to see Andrew Garfield return for another Spider-Man movie. Before he was great at Spider-Man. I'd love to see Tom Maguire return for another Spider-Man movie as well, where they're just, in their own Spider-Man movies, but I don't see that happening. But I could be wrong, and if I'm wrong, I'll happily be wrong there. But also, I do think they're going to come back in a future movie, but I think there'll just be cameos in a future movie, and I think it'll be Tom Holland's final Spider-Man movie. I think it might be something like the end of Return of the Jedi, where basically he sees them and they're like waving to him and say, "Well done, you become a Spider-Man like us." I don't know. That's just me thinking. That's just me, like the way I think and things like that. Because I'm a huge fan of Star Wars. Of course, I had to link Spider-Man to Star Wars. I don't know. Imagine that in Tom Holland's final Spider-Man movie. He's getting married to MJ. They have Spider Kids and things like that. Because there was a hint of Spider Kids in this film, by the way. And imagine that. That's the final scene, things like that. And he's trained Miles. Because I think, by the way, and I will get onto this. I think the final Tom Holland Spider-Man movie will be him training Miles Morales. But we'll be talking about that a bit later in this live stream. But yeah, just imagine that the final scene in Tom Holland's Spider-Man 4, he's sitting there, he's got MJ, got his kids and things like that, and he looks into the distance and he sees Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, and it's like the end of Return of the Jedi, and he waves at them, and they're like, "Well done, kid." Probably won't ever happen, that. Probably won't happen at all. But imagine something like that. Just imagine something like Return of the Jedi-esque ending just happening with Spider-Man. That would be cool. And by the way, someone's put something in the chat. Emily Ford, thank you for putting something in the chat. Don't have a clue what you're saying, but thank you for putting something in the chat nonetheless. But anyway, guys, yes, let's carry on what I'm saying about Spider-Man No Way Home. I think that the movies are going to carry on, and I'm going to briefly say this because I'm going to discuss this in more detail in a future live stream, probably this week. But what I'm going to say is I think the final Tom Holland Spider-Man movie will be Tom Holland Spider-Man training Miles Morales, and then in the end he'll go and settle down and stop being Spider-Man, and he'll leave Miles to go and do all this stuff by his own. I think that'll be Tom Holland Spider-Man character's arc. Like, I think, it'll go from Homecoming, where Tom Holland Spider-Man was being, mentored by Tony Stark, all the way to the last Tom Holland Spider-Man movie where he's mentoring Miles. I think that will be where the story goes. I might be completely wrong, but I think that'll be a logical character arc. To see Tom Holland go from being mentored to, mentoring someone himself and settling down like Tony Stark did in, the Iron Man films, like he settled down with, what's her name, Pepper, played by the flipping fantastic Gwyneth Paltrow. But anyway, yes, I think that's what's going to happen. I think he's going to go from Homecoming, where he's being mentored by Tony Stark, to mentoring someone himself. I think that'll be his character arc. I might be completely wrong. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But wouldn't that be logical? That'd be such a logical character arc. And I think in the end he'll end up with MJ. I think in the end he'll end up with MJ. Zendaya's MJ at that. And I also think that Ned will remember him. I think it'll be all that stuff. Like, I think that'll happen in future Tom Holland Spider-Man movies. We'll have to wait and see. But I think that's what's going to happen. But I'll be talking about that a bit more later on in another live stream this week. But anyway, back to Spider-Man No Way Home. I love the interactions between the Spider-Man. I really do. I love the interactions between the Spider-Man. And I love the moments when they're all talking about the past villains they faced off against. And Tom Holland Spider-Man's like, I fought an alien on Earth and in space. And then Tom Maguire's like, I'm just trying to get over the idea you fought an alien in space. And then Tom Maguire's like, I fought an alien covered in black. And obviously referring to, Venom in Spider-Man 3, which didn't work whatsoever. And then, Andrew Garfield Spider-Man's like, oh, I'm rubbish compared to you guys. I thought a guy dressed up in a rhinoceros, outfit. He was a Russian guy and things like that. I'm paraphrasing quite badly there, but you get the point. I loved that little moment in the film, and I also love when, Tom Holland was like, I know how to work in a team. Not to brag here, but I'm going to brag. I was in the Avengers, and they're like, that's great. What's the Avengers? Is it a band? That's good. Just interactions like that just made me smile in the best way possible, because that's just so cool. The fact that they really did interactions like that, and to seeing all the Peter Parkers interact with each other was really fun, things like that. I was kind of geeking out myself, because, like I said before, I'm not as big a Spider-Man fan as some other people, but watching those characters interact with each other, after watching them just be by themselves in past movies, and watching Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, like, I love you guys. It's just a really, really good idea. It's just really, really cool to watch this movie. And also, I love the fact that it makes fun of past Spider-Man movies. I just love that as well. Like when they refer to Rhino when they made Spider-Man 2, which obviously didn't work, and Venom in Spider-Man 3, which also didn't work. I love that little stuff. And also, I love that little moment as well, which I don't think a lot of people are going to get. But, at the same time that I got, where basically Tom Maguire's Spider-Man was like, my back hurts, things like that. And then Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man cracked his back and things like that. Oh, that works better now. And basically, if you don't know already, that essentially refers to when Tom Maguire was shooting his Spider-Man movies, he would always want to do his stunts, and then basically always hurt his back. And then actually, I think it got to the point where the producers were threatening to fire him if he didn't just let a stunt double do his work. And actually, that's a bit of an inside joke in this film. And I love the fact that it was in there, by the way. I love the fact they didn't cut that out of this film. It's so great in there. The moment when Tom Maguire Spider-Man was like, I've got back problems, things like that. And then Andrew Garfield Spider-Man cracks his back. And I just love seeing all the Spider-Man together. Honestly, I thought that was fantastic moments. But also, I love seeing all the other characters return. You know, Alfred and Dr. Octopus. I love that fact that he returned. And even so, his return is rendered a bit redundant. Because actually, if you think about it, he came out just before, you know, he was about to be turned good in Spider-Man 2. That's when he got transported to this different universe. And then basically, now he's turned good in this different universe. He's going to go back to the universe he was in Spider-Man 2. And then have to go and sacrifice himself again just to stop that weapon from blowing up in New York. It renders his character arc a bit redundant, but I don't mind that, though. I just love the fact that he's in this movie. I love the fact that Willem Dafoe's in this movie. Willem Dafoe, who I never, ever expect to return to Marvel. And the reason I say that is because when Spider-Man Homecoming was coming out, Willem Dafoe said some in an interview like, these Spider-Man movies, these new Spider-Man movies, are just made for money. And, you know, first of all, no shit, Sherlock. Of course, they're made for money. Most studio films are made for money. That's the point of a studio. But yeah, basically, Willem Dafoe came out and said, you know, these new Spider-Man movies were only made for the money, and there's no heart and no soul in them. And now he's in the new Spider-Man movies. No one can get away from the MCU. Honestly, they just can't. Like Ethan Hawke as well, which a bit off topic here, but Ethan Hawke, another quite famous actor, you know, he criticised Marvel movies as well. And then he's going to be in the new Moon Knight TV show. You know, the actors who criticise Marvel cannot get away from Marvel. Willem Dafoe is now in Spider-Man No Way Home. Granted, he's playing the same character he was originally in Spider-Man, but still, no one can get away from Marvel. No one can get away from the MCU. And I think here that's okay. Because he's used in a fun way. I think that if they just put Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin there as a cameo, I don't think it'll work as well. But he's in there and he's in a big car, he's in a big part, things like that. And also, I saw an interview from Willem Dafoe recently, and he obviously plays a Green Goblin. I saw an interview from him recently where basically he said that the only reason he'll come back to return is if he got through all these stunts and he had a big role in this film, and he does. I love the fact that he wanted to do all his own stunts. I love the fact that as well, all the fight scenes between him and Tom Holland Spider-Man are all just fighting and punching and things like that. There's no big CGI fight sequences. I mean, there are with Electro and there are with Doc Ock, but you know, I know with the Lizard, but you kind of get that with those characters, and I don't mind it so much because you do actually see them in real life form as well. You do see the human, like especially with Doc Ock. Yes, there's big CGI fights like the train scene in Spider-Man 2, but you still see, you know, Alfred playing Doc Ock in those sequences. It's just not a big CGI villain like the Lizard, but yes, you still got those big CGI fights in the film, but the main fight, the big climax, was just a hand-to-hand combat fight between Tom Holland Spider-Man and Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin. That is brilliant, in my opinion. That is brilliant. I just love that. And also, I love the goodbyes to the Spider-Man. Like, even so I see them again. Well, I think we'll see them again. That's not being confirmed. But I think we'll see them again. Even so, I think we'll see them again. Just that goodbye where you see, you know, like, Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield Spider-Man waving off to Tom Holland Spider-Man. It's just a really good moment. It's just a really good moment. He hugs them both and things like that. I just really like that stuff in the film. That's, like... It's fan service, but it's knowing fan service, and it works. And I think that stuff really gets to the heart, especially for a Spider-Man fan like myself. Just watching that works so well. And then obviously you get the quite emotional moment where basically Tom Holland Spider-Man has to say goodbye to Zendaya's MJ, and, you know, Jacob Batalon's Ned, and that's quite an emotional moment. And also, that moment when he says goodbye to Ned and MJ, when they properly remember Peter Parker as Spider-Man, that moment when they properly say goodbye to Peter Parker, just after the big final battle, it reminded me of David Tennant's last episode of Doctor Who, where basically he's saying goodbye, and he's all in the TARDIS by himself, and he goes, I don't want to go, and then he ends up regenerating to Matt Smith. And it reminded me of that in a really positive way, by the way. I love David Tennant's Doctor Who, and I love that last episode. I love the way they finish off his character, well, his Doctor Who, should I say. And it reminded me of that as well, with that, you know, roaring and that soaring, you know, Michael Guy showing score going in the background as Peter says goodbye to Ned and MJ, and it's just, it's emotional. And even so, you know, it's not being confirmed, but even so, I guarantee that Peter will find MJ and Ned, and he'll end up becoming, you know, best friends with them again, and end up becoming, you know, girlfriend and boyfriend with MJ again in the near distant future, in the future Tom Holland Spider-Man movie. Even so, I bet that'll happen. It was emotional because we haven't seen the story continue there. And actually, it's going to be a real treat to be able to go into the future in like 15 years' time and watch all of Tom Holland's Spider-Man movies. Because I don't know how many he's going to make. I mean, I know he says if he's playing Spider-Man by 30, he's done something wrong. But also, I can guarantee Sony and Marvel can give a big paycheck into him. Do you want to play Spider-Man more in 5 years? And he'll say yes because it's a big paycheck. But even so, we don't have. It's just going to be exciting to see Tom Holland's Spider-Man movies, watch them all in one in like 15 years, to see his character, progress over time, and see how the tone of those movies change as well. Because another thing I really loved about this movie was how it changed tone in the first couple of minutes. Like, it got that certain, fun and exciting tone in Homecoming and Far From Home. It kind of reminds you of Ferris Day Off. That sort of tone where it's kind of like teenage comedy-esque, but it works quite well. And then at the start of this film, you still have that, but then everything starts to change the tone quite gradually. You have the teachers, the teachers at high school, which you previously saw in Spider-Man Homecoming, in Spider-Man Homecoming and in Spider-Man Far From Home, in this movie again, but they're only in like one scene. And you have Flash once again in this film, but again, he's only in like a couple of scenes, and then all the comedy with those sort of characters is toned down to the point they get this new tone when all these characters are reintroduced, and actually it's a much more dramatic film, which a much more dramatic drive, and seeing Aunt May die really builds on that. I think the tone changes actually done quite well from the past Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, like Homecoming and Far From Home, have a certain, flamboyant tone with them, and this movie, it has that flamboyant tone like the first 20 minutes, and then it changes tone. It changes tone when basically Doctor Strange goes to say, where basically Peter Parker goes to see Doctor Strange. And by the way, I thought, Doctor Strange was great in the film. I didn't think he was needed that much, to be honest. I understood why he was in there, but if he wasn't in there, I wouldn't be heartbroken. But, the interaction between, Peter Parker and Doctor Strange was done really well in the film, and I really liked that. And also, Michael Giacchino's score is great in the film, by the way. I'm just going to mention that again. Michael Giacchino did such a good job with the score because he really made the Tom Holland Spider-Man themes, grander, and they worked so well when, Spider-Man swinging from building to building, especially at the end of the film. But at the same time, though, he also inserted that Danny Elfman Spider-Man music. He had the original Spider-Man theme in there, but you also had the Green Goblin theme, you also had the, Doc Ock theme in there as well. And I feel like they did that. And I love the fact that he used James Horner's theme from the Amazing Spider-Man 1. Like I said before, most composers would use Hans Zimmer's score from the Amazing Spider-Man 2 there. But actually, Michael Giacchino isn't most composers, and he chose to use James Horner's theme from the Amazing Spider-Man 1. Bear in mind, I think James Horner was fired from scoring the Amazing Spider-Man films, and actually Michael Giacchino, and he might have been asked to do this by the producers of this new movie, we don't know. So there's a good chance he was, but Michael Giacchino in the end chose to use James Horner's Spider-Man music over Hans Zimmer's Spider-Man music. Love that. Love it so much. And also, like I said before, John Watts' direction is still a bit disjointed in this film. Like I said before, I don't think John Watts is a brilliant director, but I do think that first, 5 minutes of the film, where basically Peter and MJ are in, Peter's apartment, and he's trying to tell Aunt May where there's like helicopters outside and all these people know he's Spider-Man now. That first couple of moments of the film, I actually think it's really well directed. It's often like one long take, kind of like Spielberg-esque, and in a really, really good way. I really like the opening scene of the film. I think it works really, really well. And also, on to the criticism some of this film's getting. In the end, this film is going to be for everyone. I've spoken about it before. I can clearly tell why a non-Spider-Man fan might not like this film. However, I'm going to have a quick drink there. Just give me a sec. I've seen a bunch of criticisms recently say that they're not a fan of movies where people stand up and cheer. That's not what movies should be. And, although I understand what they're saying, I don't care if that's what movies are like. I love movies that are hard-hitting and a bit like expansive and masterpieces and things like that. Like June, Last Night in Soho, The Green Knight, Steven Spielberg's West Side Story. I love movies like that. I love them. They're some of my favourite movies of this year. But the thing is, though, we've already had those movies this year. I'm fine also having the movies which are basically theme park rides, but not in a bad way. Martin Scorsese, when he came out a couple of years ago and said that all superhero movies are theme park rides and things like that, yes, I agree with him. But it's not a bad thing. Seeing people cheer in these movies is not a bad thing whatsoever. People cheered in Avengers Endgame. I didn't. But you know what? I'm so happy that people did. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I always love when somebody loves a movie more than I do. And here, with Spider-Man No Way Home, though, I did become part of the cheer. Pardon me there. I did become I was one of those people who cheered as well when Andrew Garfield came back out, when Tom Maguire came back out. I cheered. I wanted to cheer anyway. I don't think it did in cinema, but I wanted to, and I love the fact that people did. You know, in cinemas in the UK where I am, people don't usually cheer in a cinema. It did in Spider-Man No Way Home, and I love that. So all the people say, you know, cinemas and films should not be designed for people to cheer in. No. You can have a bit of both. You can have movies where people just sit there and go, wow, and just indulge themselves into the visuals on screen, like Dune and like The Green Knight. You can have those movies. Those movies are fantastic. I'm not saying anything bad about those movies. But you can also have the movies where people stand up and cheer. And even so, I'm not always the biggest fan of those movies when people stand up and cheer. It's great that they exist because they're bringing cinema communities together. So even so, I spoke about it before, I'm not a fan of the MCU. I love the fact that people do love those movies. And I love the fact that people stood up and cheered in Spider-Man No Way Home, especially considering the circumstances in the world right now. You know, with the Omicron variant in COVID-19 and things like that, and there's talking of a lockdown in the UK and things like that. I love the fact that people are still going to cinemas though, and are still cheering at Spider-Man No Way Home. You know, it's a bit annoying that people haven't gone to see Steven Spielberg's West Side Story in The Last Duel because they bombed quite badly. But I also the fact that people are still going back to cinemas to watch films like Spider-Man, to watch films like Eternals, Shang-Chi, and so on and so on and so on. I might not be the biggest fan of films like Black Widow, Shang-Chi, and Eternals, but they're bringing people back to the cinema. And I think that's good, especially right now. I think that's a really, really good thing. And I'm happy that's happening. For a lot of people, they'll be objecting to people cheering in the cinema. I love that. I love the fact that people cheer in the cinema still, especially during today's circumstances. So all these people say films should not be designed for people to cheer at. No, it's fine. You can have a bit of both. You can have movies like Dune where people don't necessarily cheer at that and just indulge themselves into the visuals on the screen, and then you can have movies like Spider-Man No Way Home where people see Andrew Garfield and Tom Maguire back and see Daredevil back and see all these other villains back and whatnot and cheer. That's great in my opinion. You can have a bit of both, and that's fine. But anyway, continuing on with some of the other stuff to this film, one of the last things I'm going to say here is multiverse is fine for this film, and I think it's fine for a good couple of ideas. I think it's done actually quite well in this film, bringing all the villains back into this film, and bringing Spider-Man in there. It's every Spider-Man movie, every Spider-Man fan's dream, this movie. That's what it is, and it's every Spider-Man fan's dream, and it's like Sony's apology for the past cancellations of past Spider-Man franchises, and I love the fact that they brought them back in this film. I love the fact that they did that, because it's a wacky idea. I'm amazed that it exists, but it does exist, and I love the fact that Sony did that, and I think it could also be done well in Doctor Strange too. Like, I should say, by the way, should I talk about the post-credit scenes yet? I'll talk about the post-credit scenes in a minute, but basically, I should say, I don't have that much excitement for Doctor Strange 2, even after seeing that trailer, the second post-credit scene in this movie, but I'm fine with multiverse being used in that movie because we're hearing some rumours right now what's going to happen in Doctor Strange 2. So multiverse could be quite an interesting idea in two movies, but I think past Doctor Strange 2, they should stop using multiverse or stop using it as much, because then every single movie is going to be Spider-Man No Way Home, and not in a good way. You know, the hype and the speculation was great with this movie. It was exciting. All the hype, like, oh, the Spider-Man going to show up. Oh, what's Green Goblin going to do there? Oh, what's Doc Ock doing in there? That sort of speculation was great in this movie. But the thing is, though, I don't want it to happen time and time again in future Marvel movies. I just want it to happen in this movie, and maybe another movie, and maybe a TV show, and maybe one other movie, but just stop the multiverse after a while. Because if you keep doing multiverse in every single Marvel movie, it's going to get to the point where a character will die in a Marvel movie, and then you can go into a different universe and that character will still be alive. Like, one of the big problems with the end of No Way Home is, if you think about it, you know, Peter Parker can just go back to Doctor Strange and go, okay, I'm Spider-Man, look at Peter Parker, just man himself, you know, man Doctor Strange who he is, and then say, can I go back into a different universe, and a universe where Peter and MJ remember who I am, and no one else remembers, because that will exist. That's the whole stuff doing multiverse, it will exist. And yet, it's not really a problem here, though, because you only had one movie to do multiverse. But if Marvel keep doing multiverse after multiverse after multiverse movie, I think it'll become too much after a while. And I think it's fine with Doctor Strange 2, you know. I'm not judging a book by its cover. I think Doctor Strange 2 could work quite well in multiverse. But I think if you keep doing multiverse past Doctor Strange 2, I'm not sure that could work. And I think multiverse worked in this film, but bear in mind, this is our first time experiencing multiverse on the big screen. I think they need to tone it down a bit after Doctor Strange 2. You know, we'll have to wait and see. But, you know, Doctor Strange 2 is called Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. It has multiverse in its title. But fingers crossed they don't overdo multiverse in future movies. We'll have to wait and see. But fingers crossed they don't. And by the way, I've seen some people online say, you know, The Flash movie, which is coming out next year, and by the way, it's DC, so obviously it's a different studio than Marvel, different studio than Spider-Man No Way Home. And just some people online saying, the Flash movie coming out next year is copying Spider-Man No Way Home because it can have multiple Batmen in. No, it's not. It's really not. Because the thing is, though, the Flash movie was meant to go into production in 2020, then obviously the pandemic happened. And I think the same was actually meant to happen in Spider-Man No Way Home. So, yes, okay, Spider-Man No Way Home went into production before the Flash movie did. And maybe, there's no official confirmation on this, but maybe the Flash movie heard what's happening with Spider-Man, heard that, Alfred was Dr. Octopus was returning, because that's actually confirmed quite early on, and heard that Jamie Foxx's Electro was returning, because again, that was confirmed quite early on in the production of Spider-Man No Way Home. But the thing is, though, I can guarantee you that Michael Keaton's Batman, I don't know for certain, but I can guarantee you that I think they had that in the works for quite a while. Because bear in mind, Ben Affleck wasn't wanting to return to the Batman role after Justice League. After that theatrical Justice League, which was horrible, he didn't want to return back to the role. So basically, in the end, I think the plan is, and I might be completely wrong here, maybe Michael Keaton only returns to one outing as Batman in future movies, but I think the intention is with DC right now to have Michael Keaton in there as their main Batman. Might be wrong, but I think that's their intention, and I think that's been in the cards for a long while with this Flash movie. I don't think they're copying Spider-Man whatsoever, because bear in mind, Spider-Man is also bringing back old villains, and as far as we know, in the Flash movie, there's no old villains that are coming back. I may be completely wrong. Maybe when the Flash movie comes out in November 2022, we see, I don't know, Danny DeVito's Penguin show up, and, I don't know, another past DC Batman villain show up as well. Like, I don't know, Jack Nicholson's Joker shows up. I highly doubt that, but it's a possibility. But I don't think the Flash movie is copying Spider-Man No Way Home. And also, Spider-Man No Way Home had a different drive. The whole drive to do Spider-Man No Way Home is Peter Parker is trying to make everyone forget his identity. Spider-Man. I think, given the trailer of the Flash movie, I don't really know, but from that one little teaser trailer we got of the Flash movie, it seems like Barry Allen, aka the Flash, is going to have to decide whether he wants to exist in a universe where his father's still alive, or exist in a universe where his mother's still alive. He has to choose between his mother and his father, and I think that's where multiverse comes into play in that film, and then somehow Michael Keaton's Batman fits into that as well. I think that's what the drive of the Flash movie is going to be. I've only speculated just from the trailer we've seen, but if that is, it's a different idea than Spider-Man No Way Home, and I don't think the Flash movie whatsoever is copying Spider-Man No Way Home. Be happy they both exist. Be happy we're getting multiple Batmen in one movie, which we haven't, we're still got to wait, only under a year to see, and be happy that we've had a movie which I bet is going to be very different in tone, like Spider-Man No Way Home. Just be happy they both exist. Don't try and pin them against each other, because, there's no point. Just be happy they both exist. I'm excited for both. I was really excited for No Way Home, and I'd be dead excited for, the Flash movie when it comes out, and just be happy that they both exist. Stop trying to do DC v Marvel. Just doesn't always work. I like a bit of both. I like more DC movies, but you know what? I still enjoy a good Marvel movie every now and then, like No Way Home, which brings me back onto the topic of No Way Home as a whole. But anyway, I just want to bend that out there. The Flash movie is not copying No Way Home. It's trying to do its own thing. But anyway, back onto No Way Home. Overall, it's a really, really enjoyable movie, in the end. And I think the bringing back of the Spider-Man is done in such a wonderful way. Oh, one sec, my computer's just stopped there. Okay, back here now. Yeah, I think the bringing back of the Spider-Man is done in a really wonderful way. I think having the villains in there is fantastic. I love the fact that Willem Dafoe is back in the movie, and he's fantastic. He's menacing, and a fantastic way in the movie. And also, I just think it's a wonderful movie. I really do. Like I said before, it's not a brilliant movie. It's not a brilliant movie in the end, and it's not my favourite Spider-Man movie. That's one thing I haven't actually said yet. And actually, on this week, I think I'm going to do my rankings of all the Spider-Man movies on this channel, so do look forward to that in the live stream coming later this week. But for now, personally for me, it's not my favourite Spider-Man movie. That would still be either Spider-Man 2 or Spider-Man 1 for me. But you know what? I really, really like it. And I really didn't expect to. Amazing Spider-Man 2 had about 3 villains and it felt messy. And then Spider-Man 3, as much as I do like that movie, that has about 2 villains and it feels really messy. I was about to say it had like 3 villains. No, Spider-Man 3 has Sandman and Venom. And okay, no, it actually had 3 villains. It's got, New Goblin there as well, played by James Franco. Harry Osborn's new, Harry Osborn becomes New Goblin in Spider-Man 3. And Spider-Man 3 has 3 villains, and that feels messy as well. Spider-Man No Way Home feels messy, but not really as messy as those previous movies. It has 5 villains in there. Yeah, you got Sandman, Electro, the Lizard, Doc Ock, and Green Goblin. It has 5 villains in there, but it does not feel as messy as Spider-Man 3 or The Amazing Spider-Man 2. And that is a big praise. Honestly, it really is. Because It's really hard to make a movie not feel messy, and actually, Spider-Man No Way Home did a terrific job at that. It does not feel messy whatsoever, and it's a well, it does. Okay, it does feel messy. Actually, I'd take that back a bit. It does feel messy a bit, but not as messy as you might expect it to be. And also, it's a really enjoyable movie. It's not a masterpiece, and that's fine. But that's one of the reasons it's one of my favorite movies of the year. Like Ghostbusters Afterlife, it's a nostalgic movie, and it knows that. It's not hiding that. A lot of people try to be, criticizing Ghostbusters Afterlife and go, fan service is a bad thing. Ghostbusters Afterlife. Yeah, but it knows it's doing fan service. It's not trying to hide its fan service. It knows it's trying to do it, and that's why Ghostbusters Afterlife worked to me, because it was a knowingly nostalgic film, and that's how I feel about Spider-Man No Way Home overall. It's a knowingly nostalgic film, and it shines in its nostalgia. It shines in doing all that fan service and bringing those characters back. And even so, there's a couple of moments where, actors may as well turn to the screen, turn to the audience and wink. There's one moment in the film where, Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin goes, you know what, I'm something of a scientist myself. I'm paraphrasing there, but Willem Dafoe may as well in that moment turn to the screen and, give a big wink to the audience and go, I'm something of a scientist myself. Because that's one big direct nod to Spider-Man 1, and there's loads of other nods like that as well, like when they're all talking about the past villains they faced off against, Tom Maguire's Spider-Man and Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. They may as well wink at the audience at those moments, but it works. It works overall because it's not only nostalgic, it's enjoyable, it's emotional, and it's a true Spider-Man movie. It's a proper Spider-Man movie in the end, which is more than I can say from Far From Home, which is more than I can say for Homecoming. As much as I do enjoy those movies, they have all like Spider-Man has his Stark-made suits where they've got all this technology on them, and then in this movie those suits get destroyed, and Spider-Man's got his own suit which he's created, which in the end is what makes those Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies so fantastic, because Spider-Man is his own character in those movies. Unlike the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, which I really like, by the way. I really like them, but Spider-Man's not his own thing. He's always getting guided by different characters. In Homecoming, he's getting guided by Tony Stark. In Far From Home, he's always getting guided by Nick Fury and then Mysterio to a certain degree and things like that. But in No Way Home, yes, he's getting guided by Doctor Strange and Spider-Man a little bit, but he's also becoming his own character. He's realised that in order to make people happy, in order to save the day, he has to give up on people. He has to sacrifice himself. And I think that's what makes No Way Home work. It's a true Spider-Man movie. And by the way, there's a tractor coming back outside in a second, so you might be able to hear the tractor. But yes, basically, it's a true Spider-Man movie. And it reminded me of those Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies in the best way possible. It reminded me of just the best moments of the Amazing Spider-Man movies. It reminded me of the best moments of the previous Tom Holland Spider-Man movies. I think it's a step up. I think it's a huge step up from Far From Home. And I enjoy Far From Home, I do. But I think it's a huge step up from Spider-Man Far From Home. And I do think it's a step up from Spider-Man Homecoming. And even so, it's not my favourite Spider-Man movie. I do really, really like it. I really do. And it's really enjoyable. I'm so happy that it exists. I think it's a really enjoyable movie. And I just think it's wonderful overall. And I think it's a proper Spider-Man movie, left, right, and centre. And I think that's ultimately why it works. I've seen the movie 3 times now, and I'd only seen it twice when I did my first review of the film, and I gave it an 8.3 out of 10 then. I've seen the movie 3 times now, and I'd still get it about an 8.3 out of 10. But I love it. I really do. It's one of my favourite movies of the year. And I think it's brilliant. I think it's a proper Spider-Man movie. I think it's Tom Holland's best Spider-Man movie. I think it's Tom Holland's best Spider-Man movie. And one thing I almost got to mention, by the way, is Tom Holland is terrific in this film. He is terrific. You really believe in that character. You believe in his relationship with MJ, which, is fantastic because Zendaya and Tom Holland's chemistry is off the charts in the film. And also, Jacob Batalon is great as Ned in the film. And all the performances are fantastic. Willem Dafoe is great as Green Goblin. All the Spider-Man are great as well. Watching Andrew Garfield come back as Spider-Man really reminded me why I liked his character so much. Really reminded me why I liked his interpretation as Peter Parker, aka Spider-Man, in those movies. And also, Tobey Maguire was great in this movie as well. And everyone's fantastic. It's a really enjoyable movie. Nothing more, nothing less. It's a non nostalgic movie. That's why it worked. And it's a proper Spider-Man movie. And that's another reason why Spider-Man No Way Home works so well. I really like it. In fact, I absolutely love it. And you know what? I'm even considering going back and rewatching it again. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. But we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see, depending on how lockdown goes in the UK. But fingers crossed, there isn't another lockdown. And if there isn't, I'll go and watch Spider-Man No Way Home again. But for now, I love it. I love that it exists, and I think it's absolutely brilliant. I really do. and I think it's a proper nostalgic movie. I think it's emotional, and I think it's a proper Spider-Man movie in the best way possible. And so that is my opinion on Spider-Man No Way Home overall. I repeated myself quite a few times there, more than I thought I was going to today, but that was my opinion on Spider-Man No Way Home overall. But what is your opinion on Spider-Man No Way Home? Please let me know in the comment section below, and also let me know your thoughts on some of the spoiler elements. Let me know your thoughts on the Aunt May death. Let me know your thoughts on the Spider-Man in this film. Let me know your thoughts on, you know, the way Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin was used, and the way Alfred Dr. Octopus was used, and so on and so on and so on. Let me know your thoughts, spoiler-wise or non-spoiler-wise, in the comment section below. And as always, guys, if you haven't yet, please click down below and like, subscribe on this live stream, and look forward to many more, both film and TV reviews and live streams from very soon on this channel. And also remember, if you have a topic you want me to talk about in a future live stream, please let me know in the comment section below. And also, just to remind you guys, I do also have live streams coming on this week. I've got a live stream that I'll probably be doing on Wednesday, but tomorrow I'm going to do my review of Home Alone 2 Lost in New York, so watch that. But I have a live stream going on Wednesday, which will be my review of Hawkeye. And also we have a live stream coming on Thursday, which will probably be my Spider-Man rankings. And then I'll have Christmas live stream coming on Christmas Eve, which will be Friday. So look forward to that as well. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching, and see you guys again soon. But bye for now. Bye.